Okay, hello, I'm ready to go. I've got my bag all packed. The bag is ridiculously heavy. We're on it, we're gonna boot it. See you out there.
When I'm on stage, I feel alive, I feel present. For me, that's a moment to connect with the people that connect with me and connect with myself. But that took time.
I get terrible nerves. Like, I get the worst nerves. The worst part is just getting there. But when you're there, it's like, you just kind of do.
Fear of not being what everybody thinks that you should be, right? And understanding that you're really not supposed to be what everybody thinks you should be. You're supposed to be who you truly are intended.
So I was all set to go and getting something I'd wanted to do for a while now, with a lot of options with some pretty interesting outcomes. But this story isn't really about me, and sure as anything, we can't tell it from here. So I wanted to take it all back to the beginning and get into how this started and the voices and books that had supported my journey on getting out of the comfort zone. Okay people, it's Tuesday 25th of July and I'm pretty deep into my prep for the project that's going to take me out of my own comfort zone, looking to expand my creative boundaries and hopefully get a kind of boost for the creative projects I take on in the rest of the year. I really wanted to make this video because I think in our personal, professional, educational lives, it's not so unusual that challenges will be put upon us that will place us in areas of discomfort and allow us to grow. But as artists, and especially independent artists, it can be quite easy for our creative work to exist in a kind of bubble, a space where we're doing some really powerful and vulnerable work in terms of free expression, but also a space that we control very much in terms of who we show the product of that expression to, or just how we distribute it.
So the name of this song is called Spinning, and I'm Asia Berlin.
I feel like when people are looking to you for entertainment or for art, it's like they don't always process that this is something that's coming from in here, right? It's not just stuff we do. This is stuff that comes from within, and so we have to dig deep and really give ourselves to the art, to the craft.
My original impetus to take on the kind of challenge of making this video came a couple of weeks ago when I just posted a video on YouTube and was kind of sitting there the next day wondering which way I wanted to go next. I was coming to the conclusion that I would try and make something fairly similar to what I just put up and hopefully get a bit of a lock on that sweet YouTube algorithm. However, what I realized after a couple of hours of wavering between different details in those ideas, I could actually feel that I was frustrated and physically stressed. Luckily, considering a lot of my time is looking at creative tips from artists, I had the kind of distance enough to realize that what was going on here was that I was avoiding a project. It was something that I knew would take longer, push me into a space of creative discomfort, and also not necessarily make the best business sense. However, what I also knew in that moment was that in order to find a kind of calm focus in my work, I was going to have to take on that uncomfortable project and push forward for it. Luckily at that stage, I realized that I did have people I could reach out to in terms of helping me through this journey. And it's those interviews that are really gonna make up the heart of this video and support me, but also hopefully you, to take those steps towards creative freedom and away from self-doubt and creative frustration.
My name is Max, but I go by Fo, which is I'm originally Belgian and English, so it's a French word. Means multiple fires.
Oh, I find myself in the darkest points when the sun don't shine, and I've been through it all. At the end, I know I'll just be fine.
Have there been any moments in your own like creative journey where you felt like you've had to push yourself to kind of go from maybe that experience I was describing earlier of being a little bit more in your own bubble, maybe, to a place where you've been able to kind of perform in the way you do, or, you know, put out music or work with musicians in the way that you do?
It's all process, and you know, when it comes to taking those leaps, there's an infinite amount of those jumps that you have to make to move forward in your career. Performing is one of those big ones where it's like you're really getting out of your comfort zone and getting out of your box. Essentially, your bubble, your own world that you create for yourself is now put out to other people.
I think that's the value of kind of doing it too. It's kind of seeing how it really connects with people, and that can go back into how you make music in the studio.
I think Maria fucking with Luigi. What the hell is going on? All black, so I wonder how she sees me. Something about her presence really sees me.
Sometimes it surprises you, like songs that I thought would not be popular with audiences is like their favorite song. Maybe it was a little too personal, a little too slow, a little too like whatever. That feedback too just gives you confidence to like, I don't have to make like what everybody else is making. Like it'll surprise you like what people respond to, and it's like, okay, like I can just be vulnerable, be myself, be weird, be different. It definitely gives you that like courage.
It's funny moving from thinking about this project in a hypothetical way to actually being involved in it. And over the last few days, as I've been leading up to doing my own kind of uncomfortable creative work and looking back across these interviews that I had, I've realized that I personally am kind of in a pretty all-encompassing space in terms of some nervousness and fear around my work. It's something I've been thinking about a bit, because it's interesting that when we want to take our work into perhaps a public space and expose it and say that we care about it, why does that leave us often feeling uncomfortable? In order to explore that idea, I've been reading a couple of books on the topic, which I wanted to jump into now. In Frances Ambler's book, Brief Lessons in Rule Breaking, she looks at artists who push against their creative boundaries. French artist Sophie Calle, she writes, tests herself and her audience with projects that push at the boundary between public and private. Calle, Ambler describes, isn't held back by fear. She is confident in the worth of her project. That phrase stuck out for me about the worth of our creative output, because it's so true. In my experience, in the people that I've spoken to, that a lot of the nervousness that can come out of those moments when we take our work into public and stand next to it and say, I've spent time on this, I'm proud of this work, a lot of that nervousness can come down to a kind of internal inner critic that's questioning, is this a worthwhile thing that we're doing here? Is it worthwhile that we're spending our time on it? Now, I have cited this next book quite a lot in these videos, but I want to take a brief look now at Rick Rubin's book, The Creative Act, and the section in it where he discusses why possibly these voices might exist in our head, questioning the worthwhileness of our practice. At any stage in a career, Rick writes, the critic in your head may make its voice heard, repeating that you're not talented enough, your idea isn't good enough, art isn't a worthwhile investment of your time. For the most part, the educational system doesn't ask us to access our sensitivity, but to be obedient, to do what is expected. As artists, our mission is not to conform to popular thinking. Our purpose is to value and develop our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. I want to jump back into the interviews now to look at how the artists there have dealt with that lead up to the event that's going to take them outside their comfort zone. But in my own lead up, it's been useful to hold space for that idea that it's normal for us to feel vulnerable or critical when we're about to take our work into the public space, because all that socialization in education and just generally being in society that Rick has spoken about is gonna lead to that state where, when it comes to our own independent expression, we become hypercritical and question the worthwhileness of this thing that we've spent time on.
In your face, are you gonna seize the day? Oh, keep running on your way. I find it.
I guess the farther you are away, there's more of a disconnect. But then when it's like weeks away or like days away, you start to realize, oh shit, I'm gonna go in front of all these people, and it starts to hit. And like, and things to mitigate that, like, honestly, like as much as you can rehearse, like, and try to consciously, like, things that you might like not naturally do. Breathing for me is like something I have to consciously think about when I'm like rehearsing. Like consciously think about that stuff as much as possible while you're rehearsing. And then when you get up there, it's never gonna be as good as it was when you were rehearsing, because it's just the nerves hit, everything else. But like, I think, yeah, the more you do that though, you train your muscles to do a little bit better.
I like to be prepared, but not too prepared, because I think it's special for me to also feel like I'm going into something that I don't know, into a bit of a void and something a bit unexpected. I really like, especially nowadays, like I really try and not think of like who's gonna be there or how many people are gonna be there or what the venue's like or if the mic is working well, if like whatever. Like I'm just like, have I eaten? Yes. Have I like had water? Yes. Am I in a good mindset right now? And like just essentially just ground myself, and that's my preparation essentially.
Sometimes I think too much, sometimes I'm out of touch, sometimes I'm in too deep and my mind got killed, so I changed my clutch. Sometimes I think too little, then I find myself in the middle, then I fall so deep in a pool of thoughts that my heart's so fucking brittle.
First thing is I start to rehearse quite often. Like, I'm pretty much a stickler. So I'm like, if I rehearse it, I know it, and if I have to go off the course, then I accept it and I kind of do that. But one thing is my mindset. I meditate. I have affirmations, definitely, that just keep telling me that I'm the person to do this because I can and I will, and it's gonna be great.
This is why you check your stuff. This is why you always check. This stage where we've committed to getting into that space of discomfort with our work, but are waiting for the moment where we're going to step over that boundary, is actually quite an interesting one. At that moment, you might feel both empowered by the understanding that you've taken on that challenge and you've stepped towards that moment of fear, whilst also feeling the presence of the voice within your head that is constantly trying to keep us in a kind of protective womb-like state as human beings. As someone who also might have a bit of predilection, like a lot of people, to overthinking, then I also find at these times when I'm about to step outside my comfort zone, I can struggle to define what piece of internal dialogue is actually important and what's just that fear-based mindset talking and creating noise. For those of you who might also struggle with this, I want to put forward a practical tool that you can use and a kind of checklist structure that can help us create a solid underpinning for the decisions that we make about our project. Number 1, check your reason. Are you happy and feeling strong in the original idea or motivation around the piece? Does it still feel true as a concept and something that you connect with? Number 2, check your craft. Have you done the skills-based work to feel that you're comfortable in that and have a good chance of executing on the project to a standard that you're happy with? Beware of perfectionism here, because quite often things aren't going to go perfectly or as planned, and the magic and learning opportunity can actually lie in those spaces where maybe it doesn't. Number 3, check your safety and ethics. Have you thought through and optimized the project so you're happy with the safety and ethical concerns? If all these checks are in place, then you're probably good to go. And when you hear that inner critic and that fear-based mindset creating noise within your head, you can just take a breath, relax, kind of recognize that it's just the overly protective part of your brain trying to coddle yourself, and realize that you don't need that right now, and just let it go.
All right, we're gonna get some energy moving in here, y'all. I'm gonna need y'all to sway a little bit of something. Come on now. So I'm gonna start. You follow me? Okay.
It's interesting, and I think this is the same with a lot of artists, because watching your videos, I wouldn't know immediately that you were, you have the experience that you've described in terms of that fear from the moment, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's the same experience with a lot of performers, that once they are in that moment, it's like once it becomes a reality, something switches. I don't know how it is for you. Maybe it's like there's no time to think about it anymore, or there's no need. Or how does that feel for you when after that weight, after those nerves, you're finally kind of actually doing the performance?
Once I finally get past the nerves, then I think about, it's like you said, I don't think, it's more of a feeling. I feel the energy in the room, like I connect with the people that I'm there to perform with and for and to engage with. And really it's about connection.
I can hide from you. I can lie to you. I won't.
Your audience is literally there to have an experience with you. And so after that show, that energy that they gave, the communication, the cooperation, or everything that they did there, it gives you the confidence to move on to the next one and the next one, because you're like, okay, wait, I took the time, I got up here, I made this happen, and they really enjoyed it.
Like when I'm on stage, I feel alive, I feel present, I feel, it makes sense for me. It just clicks, but that took time. Do you know what I mean? That took time to get to a point where I was connecting with myself enough and not thinking about the crowd. And therefore me being connected to myself and being present actually allowed the crowd to enter my world and enter my bubble on stage. For me, that's a moment to connect with the people that connect with me and connect with myself.
Even growing up, I was a track athlete. And so I honestly equate it to track meets, right? I get terrible nerves. I get the worst nerves, but it's when the gun goes off, literally, it's peak nerves. It's you just do it at that point.
Yo, yeah, I thought I'd just say hi. The glue's just arrived. Didn't know it was coming today, but it's arrived. If you want to have a look at the kind of ethics of what I'm doing, you can do so in the description, but a lot of it comes down to the kind of materials I use. But the reason I checked in right now was to say that, yeah, it's randomly come, but I'm gonna have a look at a few details and just see if I can go and kind of get this done now, essentially. Just go get into it, because what's the point of waiting? Let's go. Peace and love. Yo, coming in from the beach, a little bit of a curveball. The boat is actually running, so we'll see. I'd say, yeah, I may have had better chances in the morning, but we're gonna give it a go. I'm gonna try and remember the lessons that I heard in the interviews, of just kind of try and own the space and keep calm and try and enjoy it, because that's what we're here for, right? All right, peace out, let's go. Was there a time where you kind of would identify yourself as kind of you wanted to express yourself, or you were, a younger self, but you kind of, those nerves were maybe holding you back a bit. And if that doesn't resonate with you, just let me know. But yeah.
100%. Like my whole journey in music was kind of like I started like composing like classical music, right? That was my first like thing. Like kind of classically trained like flautist, like, so I played the flute, and then like I moved on to like actual pop music, and started like making beats and stuff, and that was kind of cool to an extent. But then you kind of like, your favorite stuff as a producer, they would never choose it. They would choose the stuff that they've heard before, or like whatever the case may be. I tried to pick up the mic myself, and like I was embarrassed of my voice. Like I was like paralyzed with that. Like in the earlier stages, I actually, like at my university, I found like a tutor, like a voice coach, and did like pretty much a whole semester of that, and still didn't have the courage to put my voice out there. And then like, I think at a certain point I did maybe a couple open mics, whatever, and just like broke through that. When
you're coming up with that, like in your bedroom studio or wherever you're working at the time, is there ever a moment for you where you kind of check yourself and go, hold on, I'm not sure if this is gonna kind of be me live?
I definitely go base all of my decisions and choices off feeling, and if I feel like that's a good song that deserves to see the light of day, and that I love and that I feel something from, then it's gonna come out whatever happens. You know, how that feeling that you get for someone else, you never know how that can impact them and help them potentially, you know. And as I said, like, I do my stuff because it heals me, and therefore it will heal other people, right?
What if people want to see something else? What if people want to hear something else? Like, it's kind of catching me up here, because like, as I think about it, sometimes I still get caught up on that. And I had to understand, like, you're not supposed to be like everybody else. You're really supposed to get up there and express who you are. And then if they love it, they love it. If they don't, they don't, and that's okay. And I think that was my biggest deterrent from like getting on stage, of wanting people to accept me as an artist, as a person at the same time. And people don't do that all the time. But now I don't care. Like, I literally get up there like, I'm Asia Berlin. This is my set. This is my music. This is how I dress. This is who I am. If you like it, follow me. Enjoy it. If you don't, that's okay.